Mourners in Beirut have held a funeral for Hamas deputy leader who was killed in an explosion on Tuesday. Saleh Arouri was considered a key figure in the group that carried out the deadliest terror attack in Israel's history on October 7th. He was its deputy political leader and a co-founder of its military wing. Arouri and two other Hamas members were laid to rest in the Lebanese capital. Lebanon's militant Hezbollah group blames Israel for the assassination, although there has been no claim of responsibility. But Israeli officials have previously said they would target Hamas leaders wherever they are.
Waving the Hamas flag, protesters in Ramallah voiced their support and anger. The city in the occupied West Bank was the hometown of Saleh Arouri. The high-ranking Hamas official was killed in a strike on Beirut on Tuesday.
This is crazy, hysterical revenge. Revenge because Israel feels and is experiencing a kind of defeat. And therefore, it knows full well that there's no victory for it.
Saleh Arouri was deputy to Hamas's leader Ismail Haniyeh and the group's key liaison with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Since Arouri's assassination in the suburbs of Beirut, Israel and Hezbollah have continued to fire at each other across the border, an almost daily occurrence since Israel's war with Hamas began. The Lebanese political party and militant group is backed by Iran and considered a terrorist organisation by the US, Germany and some Sunni Arab countries. Israel has not officially claimed responsibility for the strike on Beirut, but Lebanese security sources said it was caused by an Israeli drone. Hezbollah has vowed to retaliate, calling it a serious assault on Lebanon.
If the enemy thinks of waging a war on Lebanon, we will fight without restraint, without rules, without limits, and without restrictions. Israel knows what I mean.
The podium is yours. Israel's main ally, the US, has said it was not informed before the blast in Beirut. Washington is now urging restraint to keep the war contained.
We don't want to see it widen beyond Israel and Hamas. And again, we're going to keep working with partners in the region to prevent that from happening.
Hezbollah has so far refrained from escalating beyond border skirmishes with Israel. But this attack in the heart of Lebanon has raised fears of an all-out war. And the Israeli army says it's on high alert and ready for any scenario.
Let's dig a little bit deeper with Shani Rosanis with me in the studio here, our Middle East analyst. Shani, this strike was against the deputy Hamas leader, but it was in a Hezbollah-dominated neighborhood in Lebanon. So far, there has been no major retaliation from Hezbollah. What do you make of that?
Well, just to show you that the complexity of the dynamics when we talk about alliances. You know, we talk about Hamas's alliance with Lebanon, with Hezbollah forces, that is, with Iran. But then this Iran-Hezbollah Shia proxy, it's not a direct line when it comes to Hamas. It's as a Sunni offshoot. They are committed to the fight for the Palestinian cause, but they're not. They're well aware of the fact that bringing Lebanon into the fight, which is what Israel says, Israel does not differentiate from Hezbollah from Lebanon in that aspect. When it's attacked from Lebanon, the way it's threatening, it's going to attack again against Beirut. So for Nasrallah, for Hezbollah to be attacking Israel fiercely, for a Hamas cause. This is a test that they're put into. How far are they going to go with this alliance? And we're seeing so far that the bet that Israel has taken, probably Israel has taken, in going for Arouri, assuming that Hezbollah will be sort of moderate or can contain its response. Both sides can contain their response without escalation. So far, it seems to be a safe bet. We need to keep in mind this is just so far. I'm sure Hezbollah will find more ways to show its response with it. But just to show you, putting pressure into this alliance that we know already was kind of under pressure because there was no coordination about and pre-knowledge of Hezbollah about the attack by Hamas. We know that by now.
Very interesting, the power dynamics in all this. Now, this week, Israel has withdrawn some of its troops from Gaza. Is that part of a larger shift in strategy? Could we increasingly see Hamas leaders being targeted outside of Gaza and less sort of conventional warfare in Gaza?
Well, the Israeli Prime Minister said it himself. The head of the Mossad repeated that again. They see all of Hamas heads, anybody involved in the October 7th attack, as person that is deemed to be, on their target list. It's nothing new in that aspect, but it is true that it's much more of a tangible achievement for Israel to get than anything that we're seeing now in Gaza. In the last 90 days, exactly today, we've seen Israel striving for meaningful strategic achievements in Gaza, and it's not capable to break, actually, Hamas's control over the territory, not yet. So aiming at the heads of Hamas, in a way, makes it a bit easier to break this somewhat vague goal of eradicating Hamas's rule or getting rid of Hamas in Gaza. Putting the goal exactly at the heads of Hamas and chasing them wherever they are, that's a bit easier to sell and maybe to achieve.
Now, you said it 90 days ago today, and tonight the Israeli cabinet will be talking about how they will want to deal with the Gaza Strip after the war. And two ministers of the government have called for Palestinians to leave Gaza, and that raised fears of a forced expulsion. Is that the road the government is expected to go for, really?
Well, first of all, it's quite striking it took the Israeli government 90 days. Because how do you start an operation without knowing your end goal? Part of the pressure for this discussion is coming from the military, saying we need to know where we're heading. So finally, it's happening. The talks about expulsion, of Palestinians, that's always some sort of a wet dream of the extreme right in Israel. And now they're being more, unabashedly loud with this aspiration. Of course, the American supporters of Israel are against it. Of course, the international community is against it. It's also partly the core of the problem between Israel and the Palestinians. What happens to the refugees? What happened to all those Palestinians that are still refugees for so many years? Partially because the world does not want to help Israel solve the Palestinian problem in a way by getting rid of the refugees, sort of saying refugees, all of Palestinians, they need to be finding their solution within part of the greater solution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So that these talks are probably not realistic. Netanyahu said he does not support that. What does he support? That's the big problem. Israel has said mostly what it does not want to see in Gaza, and it's finding it very difficult to agree on what it is wanting to see in Gaza the day after. They don't want to see the Palestinian Authority. They even not the new revised, reformed one that the Americans are trying to concord. They don't want to see Israeli settlements being rebuilt there. They don't want to keep the military there for too long. What do they want? They're very limited in their options. There are some talk about maybe local clans, local families that will try to take over. Many experts say it's not a very realistic chance of fulfilling the goals for Israel to bring safety into that part of the world. Yet to be seen. Gaza is not a problem going away so soon.
Well, that seems to be for sure. Our Middle East analyst, Chani Rosales there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Gad.